Welcome then, friends, to Tanked Up, the podcast, all about video games and beer. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, here with Lucy.
Hello.
Hey, and Aadil.
Hi.
Hey.
So I say it was episode 415? Maybe. Who knows? The last 30 seconds are a blur. Let's open some beers. I'm already drinking a beer.
Same.
Started a bit early today because we barbecued and sat in the sun for the late afternoon. I am drinking...
Oh no, how many barbecues have you had in a row now?
I had one yesterday as well.
As many as you can,
yeah.
right?
I did do one yesterday as well, yes. I am drinking... I'm going to drink 2 beers this evening from Sure
Nice.
Shot, the one that I'm already...
I'll get a second then.
in the
later.
I've got a snifter left, but I'll tell you about this one. Then you guys can launch in, and I'll just jump in at some point with the other one when I'm ready. But this first one is called the Coolest S. It is a triple dry hopped IPA, 6.5%, from Sure Shot, and a collaboration with Northern Monk. And I assume they mean that S on the front, which is
The one we all used to draw.
which is
yeah, at
like
school.
it's the whole thing. Like I'm sure it's a Slipknot thing. But
No,
does
I
it
thought
predate
was
Slipknot?
Superman.
Like,
it's way older than that.
yeah. I don't know why I associate it with Slipknot
It's
in my
Christopher Reeve's Superman. That's what I was doing. Back in the 60s or whatever.
head. With all
I
the
was a
points,
wee
with all his Superman-y points at the top and the bottom. How angular Superman is in those days. It's a nice beer. I'll give you a couple of little tasting notes, and then we'll jump to yours. But big. I mean, it's triple dry hopped. It's a big nose. Lots of stone fruits on this. Lots of citrus. The flavour is huge. Like it's a mouth bashing flavour. It's really full.
I had a mouth bashing at the dentist today.
Oh, no,
I don't know
did
why
you?
I go.
Oh.
Like, my usual dentist, she's on maternity leave. Her name's Lucy as well, so like all Lucys, we're very good at things. And when she gives me a mouth clean, it's good. And,
Yeah.
But today, whoever I had, holy Christ, I didn't know my gums were meant to just like come out as well when I'm getting my
dear.
teeth clean.
Brutal,
So,
mate.
Yeah, it was brutal, so that's why I'm medicating with beer.
Yeah, fair.
The pain stopped a long time ago, but I feel like I need a treat.
Yeah, that's good. You've got to sometimes. I'll give you a little bit of the flavour text from this. Triple dry hopped IPA, brewed in collaboration with Hop Doodlers, Northern Monk. Dry hopped with a combination of Citra BBC, Nectaron T90, Sabro T90, and Strata CGX. Huge hop hit, resulting in a complex fruit-forward beer loaded with citrus and stone fruit, rounded, rich, and full. Oh, it's made for Hop City 24. It was canned back in mid-May, so it's only a couple of months old. But it's nice. It's nice, as I say. It's a big flavour. Getting lots of kind of peach in there, a lot of mango in there, with some more like zesty citrus. It feels like. I don't know whether it's just like a little bit of a tingle. Whether that's just because the amount of hops that are in there, the bit of a carbonation on it. It's just got this kind of like zesty sort of hit to it as well. Maybe a little bit sort of, a bit more kind of lemony in its sort of zestiness as well. So it's lovely. It's lovely and it's big, and it's only like 6.5%. I could absolutely mistake this for like a double IPA, something that's up in that sort of 8.5%. Sort of region. It's medium bodied. It's very smooth. Really nice beer to start with.
Nice.
But I've been nursing it for about half an hour probably, so I will probably drink it quite quickly.
Yeah, that's.
But
it's the weather to drink it quite, because the beer that I'm drinking now, Left-Handed Giant. I've drank that pretty quickly, probably over the last hour. Because things warm up pretty quick. But this is called Colour Me In. It's a hazy IPA, 6.5%. And
Nice.
the flavour text, I've only got a little bit left. But it had Mosaic, Strata, and Eldorado CGX in.
Okay.
And it was a very flavourful, fruity beer. Definitely a lot going on. It's like, ooh, I can pick apart those tropical fruits in there. But it says on a base of super pale malt, we've added white wheat and naked oats that give it a smooth and creamy texture, which it did have.
Nice.
Expect a zing of bitter pink grapefruit under some juicy tropical sweetness and gentle waves of passion fruit and papaya. also says blueberry, strawberry, and watermelon. May not have got those last three.
Okay.
But I definitely got the passion fruit and the papaya.
I imagine watermelon's incredibly difficult.
Yeah, because it's just water. It tastes very good, but it's just water. Yeah.
Nice. Aadil, what are you going to start off with?
So for those of you watching the videos, you may have noticed I walked away. That's because I did the classic bottle of beer, no bottle opener.
Fair.
I've got a reasonably special one. This is it's the Bommen Granaten. It's Brouwerij de Molen's.
I recognise them.
Yeah, it's their barley wine.
Oh,
so I'm not going to have
brave.
2 beers.
Fair.
Because this is
Don't blame me.
15.2%.
Wow.
Because you know what? It's the summertime, and my other one was their 10% Impy Stout, and I was like, it's too fucking hot for me to have a 10% Impy Stout.
That's a good
I'm
choice.
gonna have to have a 15% barley wine.
You're mad.
It's not like I was drinking all day at the cricket.
Oh yeah, I wasn't. I hate cricket.
That was the first time I went to the cricket. It was good.
West Indian household. They love cricket, and I can't stand it. But it's boring. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm sure going there is probably different to like watching on TV when you can have a drink. You're in the sun.
It is. I don't like watching it on the telly at all, but it is a good day to go and watch it, especially T20. Like I much prefer T20 because it's like more of an evening thing. You're only there for like 3 hours. You know, it's just kind of fun to watch the fast-paced nature. I don't like sort of one-day tests or sort of test cricket that much. But I have been to a few matches that you're there for a very fucking long time.
It was a bit shorter than expected because we didn't make it through all 50 overs before we lost our wicket, so it was fine.
Right, yeah.
Durham did not do well.
Who was playing, sorry?
Somerset Durham?
Okay. So were you go Durham?
I was go Durham, and then Durham went.
Very quickly. Like I say, it was like they hadn't got anywhere near Somerset in the same amount of overs, something like that.
Oh yeah,
right.
There were quite a few like 5-minute periods of like 3 wickets. It was like, ooh.
Right, you see,
brutal.
I'd need to down that barley wine just to get me through that.
Well, Lucy, what are you going to drink? What are you drinking now the left-handed giant's finished?
I am drinking a beer by Weekend Project, who I was meant to Google whilst we were not vamping, but naturally talking. Yeah, Weekend Project.
I've not heard of them at all.
Knutsford. Oh my god! Every time I see Knutsford, when I was working in a job that we used to deal with, like banking complaints, and to get everyone can, with all this GDPR stuff now as well, you can request what information a company, any company has on you, by writing to a certain address in Knutsford. It was for that particular bank at least. I think it's most places. When my friend was on the phone with a customer who wasn't happy and they wanted their how much information was held on them, she told them, she didn't know Knutsford was a place, she told them to go to Consford.
Amazing.
Brilliant.
And every time I see Knutsford, which is quite often, like the drive to Bristol or whatever, I come back via Knutsford. I just howl laughing at that poor customer who's already angry enough as it is, and someone telling them to go to Consford. Anyway, Weekend Project, not from Consford, they're from Knutsford. So
what's the beer called?
This is called Meadows, which is sold out on their website, but I had I've got their other two beers called Let's Hike and Gone Fishing, which are still on their website. Because I picked up all three, because I was like, oh, I haven't seen this brewery before. Yeah, after having my gums destroyed, I was like, well, I deserve to pick up a few beers. This is 5.4% double dry hop pale. Meadows is our first beer, soft, ripe, tropical fruit that's saturated with both mid-fermentation and low-temperature dry hop additions of Citra T90 and Cryo Mosaic paired with our pillowy, fruity, haze positive house yeast. I like that. Haze positive. Oh, that's a good one. That's a new one. Like, everything's got to be positive now, isn't it? It's like, well, not HIV positive, that's good. But like, yeah, haze positive. I like that. Like, instead of, I don't know, remember when hazy beers used to be like, oh no, they're the devil.
Yes.
Now it's haze positive. Such a millennial thing.
It's
but
500
yeah, it's
mil.
500 mil. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Very nice. But yeah, I'll crack that open. Yeah, I think they're from Knutsford anyway. Sorry for that tangent.
Good. Let me just knock this back and I'll open my other beer. So I'm drinking another beer from Sure Shot. I was thinking I picked up as well the Whale Shark, which is Verdant's double IPA version of whatever their sharks need water, or sharks drink water, or sharks swim in water, or something. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah,
but
that's made a comeback recently. I see a lot of those cans about.
Yeah. But they've put out a Whale Shark. I think it's 8.5% double IPA. I was going to drink that, but this is much more our groove and our vibe from Sure Shot. This is a beer. It's a New England IPA. It's 6.5%, and it's called Who's Afraid of Jeff Goldblum? And it's just a picture of him lying down with his shirt open from Jurassic Park, just in the fly's eyes.
Best beer ever.
Just, I mean, it's magical. It's absolutely magical.
Yeah,
quite amazing.
Yes,
so this is a single hop New England IPA, dry hopped with Mosaic, BBC, and Cryo. Juicy tropical mango and citrus with a pine buzz. Insatiable, unquenchable, animalistic. Be afraid, be very afraid. Good flavour text.
Sure Shot, did you say?
Yes.
Okay, been to their tap room. It's right next to Balance's mixed fermentation place in Manchester.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, just go to both of them, but if I had the choice, I'd go to Balance again. But Sure Shot, yeah, you see a lot of their beers nowadays. It's like they just sprouted in
they had a load.
6 months or so.
They must have had 8, maybe 9 or 10 in the box shop. So yeah, I don't know whether they'd all just come in at the same time, whether they're sort of refreshing and some of them are sort of older. But yeah, there was a bunch of them there, which is good. It's nice to see breweries coming down from all that way up north as well.
Yeah.
Down here in the Southlands. Good. Let's roll back round. Aadil, we'll come back to you for the barley wine.
So it's a barley wine on the pour. It smelled delicious, but like nice and boozy. A bit of like dried fruit, like raisins, just on the aroma as I poured it. Up close, you're getting a bit more malt, but also a little more sweet fruits. So think plummy.
Plummy, did you say?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like dark red fruits. Oh, wow, that smells so good. I'm also representing by wearing a different Dutch beer.
Yeah.
Ooh, just that nose. It's been a while since I smelled a nice, boozy, balanced nose where it's like, this is strong, but also everything in it is so well stitched together. Oh, that's really good.
Nice.
It's definitely not your average hot summer beer. I also brought water because otherwise I think I'm a bit thirsty. It's hot. I cannot afford to slam this by accident. I will say, yeah, it's like it's much more just like ripe fruits rather than specifically the dark red ones.
Mm-hmm.
So just that like fullness of the sugars and really malt forward.
Oh, interesting. You haven't, because like barley wine, I would just associate that with like the fruit and the esters and stuff like that, malt forward.
Yeah, I mean, for a barley wine, to be clear, like it's a bit maltier than I would have expected. It's still not like a malty beer total. It's also like quite delicate bitterness. It's just lightly bitter. Very fruit forward. A bit dessert as well. Like the sweetness is not just with the fruits. I think it's the maltiness and the sweetness almost makes you think of like a boozy cake a little bit. But not like as the main flavor, but just like as like a. I've lost the word.
Additive.
Well, no, like a layer that's just everything sort of built on.
Base.
Anyway, yeah.
Base.
It is that thing I said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's really good. It's clearly strong, but it does not taste like 15%. That's why I'm taking these very gingerly sips, because I'm very conscious of being like, Oh, yeah.
That sounds good.
It's.
Did you get this from your regular bottle shop?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
yeah,
there's probably only one bottle shop in Birmingham that I know supplies their beers that I often see, and it's a shame because, like, yeah, I've never had a bad beer from them. So
yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, so Ben at the Hop Knocker knows this, and so he's like, he sent me a picture being like, have a few of these in. This and the Impy Stout, and I was like, put some aside for me, please.
You'll get to a point where he's just making a box for you each week, where it's like, I know he'll want one of these. Yes, just you'll have your own shelf in the shop.
It's really good. Yeah. So I think there's like yeah, it's much more like these like ripe dark fruits, almost no citrus obviously in the flavor. And yeah, I think that maltiness is what's making this quite a unique or a type of barley wine I'm not used to, which again is this like it's this malty backbone that's making it have a touch of a cakey, like a fruit cake, a rum fruit cake sort of backbone. It's the word I was looking for 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, like more of like a sort of like Christmas beer almost. Like,
almost, except it's not. It doesn't taste super boozy despite being it. It's actually quite light, and it's got quite a short finish. Dangerous for me, because I like the taste. And I think that's making it so like it's actually more summery than you would think, given it's a 15% sort of fruit malty forward. Like this I don't feel like, oh wow, I'm drinking cross seasons. Like I think the Impy Stout might have made me feel. It's obviously like not your height of today in the blistering sun. I would not have opened this, but at like 9 o'clock.
Yeah, it's cooled down a bit.
Post dinner, sipping it away. It's still kind of a bit zippy and refreshing. I think that ripeness of the fruits is keeping it. It's got this like a bit of a zippy is the wrong word, or rather the same word, but yeah, just like a freshness and a crispness to it. So it's not
nice.
So it still feels at home with this, the weather and the time of year. Anyway, it's really good.
Good.
Surprising, probably no one.
Yes.
It also, I had to do a quick search. It translates to bombs and grenades.
Oh. Okay.
Don't know why.
Whoa.
What is it good for? Apparently this beer.
Yes.
Edwin 5 stars for that beer.
Lucy, weekend project, Meadows, how is it?
Had a cheeky little sip, but the head disappeared like really quickly. So yeah, not a lot of effervescence or hoppiness. Carbonation is like basically zilch, and that was like straight after the pour. But even so, it's I always want to say watery, but not in a bad sense, but in a sense that it's refreshing. It's got a good water quality, like say a beer from like, I don't know, the Buxton region or something like that. You can tell it's got a really good water quality, and it's like
just Cornwall, of Cornwall.
Yeah, or Cornwall, like Polly's or something like that. It's like not watery in a bad sense, but like it's clean. It's got a clean water sense like that. But yeah, it's really smooth. As I said, not a lot of carbonation. I don't think that's to its detriment because it has such a clean finish. Soft. That's how they describe it. And it is very, very soft, very easy. But yeah, it's got a nice like underlying level of like those tropical fruits coming through. Like maybe a little bit of guava, a bit of passion fruit, citrus.
Nice.
It's really refreshing. This is probably. I don't. As I say, I don't think the lack of hoppiness or the lack of carbonation really detracts from it because it is just that really refreshing, clean kind of finish to it. With a decent amount of fruit, but not like the beer that I had before, like the Left-Handed Giant. That was very. I mean, they threw in like blueberry, watermelon, strawberry. It's got passion fruit. This and yes, it was very fruity, and it was like very, that brings a sweetness to it. Whereas this has got like more of a subtle underlying fruitiness to it, like sort of like melon. Sort of what you'd associate from like watermelon and melon, where it's more watery, but you have that decent amount of taste.
Okay,
that isn't overly sweet that you'd get from like a mango or a very ripe kind of like orange or something like that. It's got a very nice subtle fruitiness to it without being overly sweet, and just really refreshing. The adjectives that I can pick out from the back of the can are soft and pillowy, and that's exactly what it is. And it's like, this is perfect. This sort of reminds me of like maybe Barron's like kind of beers, just like early days. We're not trying to go to like full on fruit forward, full on hoppy, full on or even bitter going on the other side of the scale. This is just like a very subtly refreshing beer, and it's really good. I'm very impressed from this, like right off the bat.
Yeah. Nice, good. Cool, good. I did have a quick look on their site when you said that one that you're drinking is out, and the other two beers you mentioned, Gone Fishing and Let's Hike. I really like the can art for Let's Hike. I know they're all sort of watercolory kind of things, but Let's Hike is really, really nice. Just those pastel tones. And
I think that's honestly what attracted me to them as well. Like we all like to think that can art doesn't make a difference, but it absolutely does. That's why I picked up all three. It's like new brewery, and like, gosh, this can art is not Jeff Goldblum levels of good.
I mean, but instantly saw it, and I'm like, I'm at that one. I don't care what the beer is, I'll have that one.
But super good. Yeah. Have you guys? Quick aside, have you guys seen that double-barreled canning now? It's the first time I've ever seen them canning in the bottle shop today. I think it's just like their core range, but it's like, I haven't seen double-barreled ever in cans.
I think I must have seen them. They must have been doing that for a little while, perhaps. Yeah. I'm sure I've seen a couple of cans floating about over the last sort of year, maybe.
Okay, it just might just be new in my neck of the woods because I never see them. I think I have had cans from them, but not in they didn't look like that maybe, and it's like, so I thought maybe they had a new canning line. And
maybe they've changed the
core
size or something like that potentially.
I think they were 440. I think.
Right.
Yeah. So standard. So yeah. But yeah.
Nice. Good.
Anyway, but Meadows, great.
Cool. Jeff Goldblum smells incredibly dank.
Of course he does. He does look a bit dank and sweaty.
I mean, that's the thing. Yeah. I'm not sure if this is just Jeff's aroma and then flies.
Musk. Sorry, it's not aroma. It's a musk.
It's a nice colour. Comes through roughly sort of what you see on the screen. A little bit more yellow than orange, I think. Good carbonation, dissipated quite quickly, but has stuck around. There's a little bit of a head, but yeah. A little bit of fruit on the nose, not a huge amount, but just this kind of this dank note to it as well. I mean, and that is in the flavour as well. But alongside that, there is a very refreshing note in here. It isn't all just like a big dank hit, but it doesn't feel incredibly New England. There is a softness to it, a little softness to it, but actually it's danker than I would have thought. It's more bitter than I would have thought for a New England. The softness starts off quite nicely, and it is maybe more kind of ripe mango, which is leading into that dankness, leading into that little bit of bitterness. It's not sort of as soft as kind of you would think of just like a nice kind of mango, but yeah, it has got this kind of like, I think on the can it said pine. Yeah, a citrus and
like
pine buzz.
Resiny amber. Like the...
Exactly, that's what that is.
Mosquito.
Yes.
Are there like some really old bugs sort of stuck in there?
And it's amber in colour. I know exactly. That's it.
Dino
You'll just see one floating around in there shortly. It's got enough to it that it isn't just that kind of slightly dirty dishwater sort of flavour. Like the dankness brings a sense of that. It is a bit more piney. It's got a bit of fragrance to it as well. So it's almost a bit kind of like, you know, when you get your piney kind of scented car scent things. Yes. It's got a little bit of that kind of hit of fragrance to it, a little bit of sweetness to it as well, but not much. And as I say, it's that little bit of mango. It's a little, feels kind of juicy. But this is, I think it says on there, insatiable, unquenchable. I assume they're talking more about Jeff Goldblum in these things, but actually, it's a little bit chewy. And actually, I'm a little bit kind of just dried out really, really quickly from it. So, I mean, it's giving me the vibes I think that they want to give me, but I don't feel much in the New England camp on this one.
We need to move on.
That's fair.
You need to save that can.
Yo, that's definitely one of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just stick it on the cupboard here next to me, just so I can see it all the time. Good. Let's move on then. We'll touch on a small amount of news before we launch into sort of what we have been playing. I saw a couple of articles today, all about Bungie's woes of late. Let's say
had more layoffs, haven't they?
More layoffs, more folding into Sony and into PlayStation as well. It looks like, but the first article was about more the idea. I think that was it a bit of a mistake. Was it a bit of a mistake for Sony to buy Bungie in sort of the price that they paid, but also for Bungie in terms of wanting to still have a little bit of independence? You know, they weren't part of PlayStation Studios. They were kind of adjacent to PlayStation Studios, but not under the umbrella. They had a little bit of independence, a little bit of funding from Sony, but to sort of, the ability to kind of make their own choices and things like that. But it doesn't seem to have worked out very well for them, or whether actually Sony is more of a bit of a lifeline, and whether Bungie, if they were still them, but sat as an independent kind of company, whether actually because of the couple of Destiny DLCs or expansions or whatever they call them, because of those they didn't do very well recently, and a couple of other projects which haven't seen any light yet, and they spent a reasonable amount of money on, whether they just be going under instead of being kind of part of Sony and folding into it a little bit more.
I can have some sympathy for both parties, because Bungie historically have jumped from publisher to publisher, always retaining some level of independence over the years. They've been around for a long time. They've always... I don't know if they've always owned their IP, possibly. Well, except for like Halo and stuff like that, but they've always had that level of independence where it's like, okay, we are attached to a publisher for sure and associated with them, whether that was like Apple or Microsoft or Sony, Activision. But it seems like it was like a storm in a teacup, like after COVID, a lot of money flying around, investment, low inflation. Like, you can't blame Sony for buying them. They were a hot ticket number because, Destiny historically has done well, apart from like year one or whatever. But, it was very much a cash cow, so it isn't as foreseeable as and cynical as, say, Microsoft laying off a bunch of people from, Activision and internal teams was it Tequila? I don't know. What are they called? The people who made that really bad vampire game, Arcane, and the other one, the horror game,
Redfall.
The Redfall game, that was Arcane.
That was Arcane.
The really good rhythm game.
Oh, Hi-Fi Rush.
Hi-Fi Rush.
Tango Gameworks.
Tango, not Tequila.
What are they called? Tequila Game Studio. So it's probably incredibly close. Yeah.
Rhyme and the Sexy Brutal or something. Anyway, it's not as foreseeable and as cynical as that. I think Sony bought them probably in good faith, keeping a lot of those people on, not wanting to lay off people with the merge, and then just what has happened to every company since, like high inflation, shrinkage of, well, it's not even shrinkage of the industry, it's growing, but I think it's to do with inflation and just wanting to make the books look better. It's absolutely that.
It's not even inflation so much as we still are dealing with the effects of the COVID bubble on projects.
Yeah.
And instead of just being frank with investors, because investors are idiots, right? Because the whole point of having good years is you're going to have less good years, and you explain that with savings and blah blah. You don't cut your fucking workforce, which is how your product gets made, but you have to do that in order to keep the line going up. And the fact that people are getting called out for this is
good, because as I said, it looks less cynical because of all the other stuff that's going on, Embracer and Microsoft and everything, but it's still, nevertheless, still bad and terrible. It's like, these people are paid hundreds of thousands and millions of pounds, dollars, whatever, each year to project this, to forecast this, to understand, okay, as Aadil said, it is a COVID bubble. No one foresaw the pandemic going on for years and years and years, and that status quo continuing on. So it's yes, these people should have foreseen this, but as I say, it just looks better in comparison to all the other layoffs, but still pretty bad.
All these are in reaction to each other, right? Because as soon as one company does mass layoffs, investors are just looking at short-term lines, not understanding how businesses work, or that what you should be doing is investing in a company for the long term, and then if their blips are smaller than their bumps, then they're doing fine, right? But the problem is it's money for money's sake in the short run, and because of that, you aren't guaranteed any loyalty in the long run.
Yeah, but
that means if as soon as one company, big enough company in an industry like, especially in an industry that's very much investor led, right? Like video games. As soon as one company burns half its workforce and then their line stays up, they just get their stock price goes up. That allows them to get more money, and then they can hire some of these people back at shittier contracts.
Yeah,
and pocket the difference. And the thing is, the way you prevent people from jumping ship with their capital from yours is you show them that you also are one of these magic companies that weren't affected by the COVID bubble.
Yeah, it's all cyclical, isn't it? I mean, it's all cyclical. It's all sad. But I think outside of that, whoever greenlit Marathon as a project that Bungie should move on to next, and not even Destiny 3, whether that train has run out of steam or not, is an idiot. let me just be clear. Like, that is a bad move. An IP that is 25 years old at this point, and is it meant to be like an extraction shooter?
Oh, I can't remember what Marathon is meant to be.
I think it's meant to be an extraction shooter now.
Yeah, I kept getting confused with Concord, which is coming out in a couple of months, which is the other PlayStation game, which is a 4-on-4
I
PvP
did not realise
shooter.
that was Sony.
Yeah.
I even watched that, the start of that presentation, and I didn't realise that was Sony. And I don't know what that says about Sony as a company, where I didn't immediately attribute them to being the multiplayer people.
Like, oh, they got an Overwatch clone. Okay.
So Marathon is an extraction shooter. You are correct.
Jesus Christ. But yeah, whoever just whatever Marathon could be, whoever just said, "Oh yeah, let's call this game Marathon," and not Snickers.
Yeah.
And have that game be harking back on an IP that's 25 years old. And did it only have one entry? I don't think there was a Marathon. Two. But just on a completely different kind of audience and system, and it's crazy to me. It's absolutely crazy to me, and that's what I don't think. That's obviously something that Bungie decided internally, because I don't think anyone at PlayStation would have had the sense to do that. They were like, no. we did well with Destiny. We know what they're doing. Let's call it Marathon. Let's hark back to this old thing.
Who owns the IP and all of those kinds of things? Is it just sat dormant and Sony wanted someone to do something with it?
It's pointless to do that. Call it Godfall. That's already the name of the game. Call it a Fall of War.
Boeing.
I mean, I believe
Concord just had Boeing.
This is Bungie's own IP.
Right. Okay.
They were original success was that got them to the place where they could make bigger game.
Apart from Halo, I think they've kept most of their IP.
Yeah.
Because they've had that independence, but I don't think anyone historically is probably, who worked on those projects. Maybe one or two people are at Bungie now. It's a bit weird, and it's just another falling giant. I mean, it happens to most companies. Look at
it does. What was it? I can't remember how many people Microsoft laid off from Activision, but I would imagine percentage-wise, it's very, very similar in these kinds of companies. Bungie have come out and said, beginning today, this is a Pete Parsons, one of the CEO people, has done a post on Bungie.net, so saying they are eliminating 220 roles, about 17% of the studio's workforce. I thought that 150 of those were going into Sony, but it looks like actually an additional 155 roles are transferring over to Sony over the rest of the year, basically. So Sony has basically found jobs for 155 people. So if Sony basically said we haven't got any jobs, this would have been 370 people leaving Bungie. So at least that bit of integration between them has allowed a bit of a transfer of workforce into other roles within Sony. And it also
they're going into Concord teams and can make something.
Potentially they're looking at the other shooters that they've got. Definitely some multiplayer stuff. Depends on where these roles are, right? But also it looks like one of the incubation projects, as they call them. So one of their games that they've been working on in the early stages. So it's an action game based in a new fantasy universe, a new IP, is going to be made from a new studio within PlayStation Studios. So whether 155 of those people some of those will be going into that new studio to continue the work that they're kind of already doing on this project. And actually, it's more predetermined who in those 155 people are going over, because it's just the team that is working on that game are just the lucky ones that they've decided this is the game that has some legs. It's gone far enough. We're happy with it. They're going to go over and form a new studio within Sony, which more than likely will be shuttered within about 3 years, because that's what Sony do very, very well.
It truly is a miracle if any game comes out of any AAA studio at this point, because all the moving of, the shuffling of the pieces and stuff like that, and it's like, it just seems like, a conveyor belt of just mess and moving parts, and it's like, if any game comes out of this and it's good, then it's like... I mean, people always say, like, if a game gets made, it is just a miracle anyway. But, like, especially with AAA publishers now, holy Christ, it is just an act of God, isn't it?
Again, they say 155 roles is about 12% of their workforce, so they're losing roughly 30%. So Bungie's reducing by not quite a third, but almost. And then they sort of almost sign off saying Bungie will continue to make great games. We still have over 850 team members building Destiny and Marathon. It's a lot of fucking people still. When you have a project of that scale, but the amount of studios that are slightly smaller than that just go out to third-party companies to assist in VFX or animation or anything else. And it'd be interesting to know kind of how many of those teams that Bungie also lean on for some of these things, like Marathon. Like, are they getting rid of a bunch of people and then just contracting out a bunch of the work?
Have you seen the credits of any AAA game?
Yeah.
It's like, it lasts for like 50 minutes. It's just like, this studio, that studio.
Just credits by Hideo Kojima at the end, because it's just so fucking long.
Yeah, he's got about 700 A-listers to put in each of his games. Oh yeah, that Death Stranding too. When's that meant to be out?
I have no idea. Not a clue.
Bless his heart.
It'll come out at some point, maybe. Until they fold into PlayStation. No, I don't think they'd fold into PlayStation, but
I think people will keep pumping money into Hideo Kojima until the end of time.
Absolutely.
And why not? Why not?
Yeah,
why not?
Completely. I suppose it's a bit of another bad news sort of story in terms of layoffs. A bit of a kind of not as bad, but still pretty fucking shit.
Not as bad in the context of everything, but still terrible.
Yes, unfortunately. Okay. Let's talk about nicer things. Let's talk about games that people have been playing. Lucy, I know you've got a few. Aadil, is there anything you wanted to chat about, news or games this week at all?
I now have a friend in town who's really into Magic, so I've played it in person almost
Nerd.
twice a week. Well, at least once a week, but twice a week in the past couple of weeks. We even last Saturday went to Newcastle for the Magic the Gathering Bloom Burrows, the new set. It's like Redwall, so like little animals with
nice. That's cool.
But like not not furries, right? But actual, like, they're just mice-sized mice.
Yeah.
I like
the Red Bull novels.
So we don't think you're a weirdo. Even
so we went to Newcastle for the pre-release and played against strangers who were also seeing these cards for the first time, and it was tons of fun.
Can I ask you something about MTG? I always see like these news stories about like Harry Potter and Game of Thrones and The Sopranos and stuff like that. There's new Magic cards.
Yes, the Universes Beyond stuff. Yeah, so
Monty Python.
Yeah, Monty Python. So those tend to be in secret layers, which are like outside of. Sometimes they're reprints, sometimes they're mechanically unique. That's a whole thing people were frustrated with because of licensing contracts. It'll be really hard to reprint them. So mechanically unique licensed cards are dangerous, and they made a pledge after the first year of this that they would make in-universe mechanical versions of anything they make licensed, at least for the secret layers. But yeah, the idea is then you're getting these so the Monty Python ones, they're all reprints. They're just sort of, they have the Monty Python name, and then in one line lower smaller, it's the actual name of the card, and it's the exact same thing.
Right.
And it just has neat art. So like from Alpha, one of the there's a 0/1 flying bird that's 1 green mana, and you tap it and you make a mana of any color. It's called Birds of Paradise. It's one of the best like ramp mana creating creatures in the game because it's so cheap, and it turns a green into anything, and then next turn if you play another land, you have 3 lands instead of 2. So on the Monty Python one, they've made it double-sided, and it's an African sparrow or a European.
It's swallow, yeah.
Swallows, yeah. Yes. So you get to pick.
Nice, that's very cool.
But it's that card. It is just a Birds of Paradise. It's 1 green mana, 0/3, and like for reasons of like numbers of cards in a deck, or that can be played outside. It has the actual title, so you can't just say, there's only in some formats you can have 4 of a type in a deck. You couldn't have the Monty Python version and the regular version. They all count as the same card.
So it doesn't interfere too much with like
it's just art
of the game. Oh, okay.
Yes,
okay.
But there are some things like
sense.
the Transformers cards weirdly came out in a regular set that was like going back in the history of Magic, and then they bonus sheet of cards that they now do sometimes that basically you have 1 slot in a booster pack, which will be the bonus sheet. And when they went to the fairy tale world, it was reprints of some of the most interesting enchantments throughout the history of Magic. So they weren't part of the regular game, and like if you were playing like draft, you couldn't use them. But you could but you got them basically. And because the biggest format is Commander, which everything is legal, and you then put that in your Commander deck. And these, right? So that makes sense because it was thematic. And then that one set, it was again attached to this like historical war between 2 brothers who were artificers and magicians, and so there was a bunch of artifacts that they reprinted in this bonus sheet. And then one of these sets that again was this historical big fantasy battle. The bonus sheets included Transformers, Optimus Prime,
as you do,
Starscream, and you're like, yes. So here is the historical battle that I've been playing Magic for like 2 decades, almost 3, right? And like to like finally revisit because it's only ever mentioned in flavor text and like alluded to. Now we get the set that's actually happening at that time, and then here's Optimus Prime on Earth. What? and it's like cell shaded. The art style is like cartoon.
No,
so yeah, it's really weird. It's been going on for long enough that people have made peace with it, I think. But
yeah, because I wonder how is this all happening on? Bless your hearts, you lot are nerds, and you are very hardcore about the mechanics of everything, and like buying new cars can seem like a bit of a I get that's how they make money, but it's just like, if it doesn't actually affect the mechanics of everything, it's like, okay, that's pretty cool how they, integrate with the lore and the history of.
But they also do sometimes full sets. So like Lord of the Rings came out last summer, and it was a full set, and it was made modern legal. So modern's like one of the larger history of the format, and so it's not standard legal, so the stuff that's coming out now, you can't just add Lord of the Rings sets to cards to it, but you could on Modern, which is one of the more competitive formats. And so it just fucked up Modern, basically, because now Modern, you have to buy these new cards when the whole point was it was where you could have a sort of expensive deck but not have to change it that much. But also, this is where the One Ring came out, and I don't know if you saw the news last summer, where they made a special serialized version of the card The One Ring, which first of all is overpowered and might have to get banned from Modern, because that sells packs. But also that card, they made a serialized version where they printed exactly one of them. So the One Ring, one of one, and it was in Elvish script, all of it. Looks really badass, obviously foil. And so that was a big push for the sales, and it could only be found in the more expensive booster packs, not the regular ones.
Didn't
and
like
Post
a
Malone
rapper
bought
buy
it from a
Post
guy who
Malone.
got it in Canada for $2
What
million.
Post Malone? What
He bought it off. He bought it off whoever found it.
Hey, why not? You know what?
If I'm Post Malone, I'm giving some nerd $2 million for a unique thing that I don't care about.
That
$2
man
million.
has tattoos on his face. He can do whatever the hell he wants. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like
that's cool.
These things have become part of Magic, partly because of this whole Lord of the Rings thing, and it was a very shrewd business decision to have that as the big set rather than these small bursts.
Yeah.
But then guess what they came out with last month? A set of small boosters, so you couldn't actually play, like there's a type of the game where you open a booster, you have 8 people, they each open a booster, you grab a card, pass it to the rest to the left.
Is that the cube?
You open 3 boosters, you make a deck, and you fight.
That cube.
So you that's called drafting, and the Assassin's Creed game didn't have enough cards to be a draftable set, and the boosters were not big enough. So now you're playing the RNG collectible card game version, a game for just trying to get like Ezio, because you can't just buy Ezio from the store like you can buy Monty Python stuff.
Yeah.
But also it's because it's Assassin's Creed. We now have a Magic card for Leonardo da Vinci and Cleopatra.
Nice.
Which is insane because those are people in our real world, and like at least these are other fictional universes. But now it's like,
well, I suppose it's the fictional version of them. Right?
Yeah.
It's the fictional version.
Yeah.
Really, it's a really weird
stuff a blade out of his sleeve.
It's a really like it does quite fit the Magic vibes in one sense. The IP is very strange, and like it was. They also made it modern legal, like the Lord of the Rings sets, presumably to make people want to buy them. So it just felt more cynical. I mean, but there's also been a Fortnite circulator. So what's more cynical in your multiverse universe, your multiverse multiplanar setting that has universes beyond, but then putting the thing that did this thing first?
Yeah.
Now, I was gonna say like your tone sounded mostly neutral, and I couldn't tell whether you were for and against this. But the last probably 30 seconds of this conversation, it sounds like you're more. I like my Magic how it used to be. Leave this alone. So,
no, it's
where do you fall on it?
So I don't care about the reskinned IPs. I think is the best way of doing it because. The only FOMO is the aesthetic stuff, and there's no pay to win, and there's no problem because really, like, there are some cards that they've come out with that turned out to be like Rick Grimes from The Walking Dead, which was the first secret layer. It turns out he is legacy playable, so the most expensive format because it's where all the people with all the old cards that they'll get reprinted are worth thousands of dollars each. And he can't get reprinted, and they hadn't promised to make in-universe copies at that point. This was one of the reasons why the customers were complaining. So that stuff sucks. I think the problem I have with the Assassin's Creed thing is if I just want the art style, you're making me have to buy a bunch of packs or buy stuff on the secondary market to get the card.
Yeah.
And that sucks. If I can't, at least with regular Magic, you buy the booster pack, and there is a way of getting a night's entertainment out of it. And you're getting, 14, 15 cards a pack, not 7.
Yeah.
For basically the same price. So it just feels like Hasbro. I mean, we know Hasbro's been pushing Wizards of the Coast to just like make more money because that's what's keeping the rest of the business afloat. And so just these types of moves of going to smaller booster packs, less functional stuff, but also like impacting other formats so that you can say, well, like maybe modern players will buy Assassin's Creed because we'll make sure we'll design a couple cards in the Assassin's Creed modern legal format or set of cards that will be playable. And so if people will try and get them, and the way they can get them is to buy the packs and hope, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I get that. Like every company.
But yeah,
has to make
it's
money,
mostly
and that
the like
disturb some things that legacy players are not going to be happy with.
So other than that, I think it's fine. I think people. I've been saying it since the beginning. If I don't want to play with the Walking Dead cards, I didn't have to play with the Walking Dead cards, and I'm not like super competitive such that I need to make that decision about some specific deck, and especially when the most like popular format is Commander, which is like basically all 30,000 of the cards are virtually legal. So you can make a good strong deck without any of these cards.
30,000 cards.
Yeah.
Insane.
But anyway, so what this has confirmed is one of the reasons I haven't touched Arena in a while is because I like the gathering part and I like the tactile feel.
Sure.
We went to the Woodman on Monday, the three of us, and played a long game of Commander. And we went outside because it was nice. And then the sun set, and we had to finish the game with the one person got knocked out holding his phone over the table. It's like, we're the nerdiest people at the pub.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That's very good. It seems Magic seems like for new people to get into such a big beast to try and kind of understand and wrangle and stuff.
Well, so they're actually coming out with a product in November that's like it's called Foundations, and it's supposed to be going to be legal for like standard legal for like 8 years or something dumb like that. Like their new idea is basically come out with a set that are going to continuously reprint that's like simpler cards that people could just buy 200 cards the set, and then they would have it, and you could just make decks out of that till the cows come home,
right?
Or you could then start adding to it, but the onboarding would be much easier, because one of the things that sucks is Commander is the most popular format, and the way that format works is everyone has a legendary creature which has a certain mana costs, and whatever colors are in that cost, the rest of your deck has to have only be those colors. But it's 100 cards, and except for the basic lands, you can only have one copy of each.
Mm-hmm.
But that means and it's a 4-player game. But that means that if you're new and you walk up to a table and you barely know the rules, you're now having 400 unique cards that you have to like figure out, read, process, try and figure out what they're doing to each other.
Yeah.
It's like a really complicated. It's like actually the worst way to introduce someone to play Magic is to get them to play the most popular format.
I can see why that would be an issue. Yeah.
Nuts.
So I won't be playing Magic anytime soon.
No, I mean,
I would say the easiest way to learn the rules is actually getting Arena and going through their tutorial stuff.
Yeah.
It's actually an incredibly good walk through the rules and the basics of the stack and stuff, and then
is that free?
Yeah.
Is that free? Yeah.
Yeah. And you get access to like 5-6 decks that you can immediately start playing with. Obviously, they won't be as good as most decks on the game, but you'll be new, so you'll be playing similar people.
Is that's still around? Is that the thing that I thought that like came and went, like the online thing?
No, Magic Arena's been going since 2018. Beta test.
Yeah, that's still around.
Yeah. The thing that came and went was their like weird, like ARPG game that was in beta test that I played a few years back. That was, and my complaint was it was neat. You were a character, you could pick a couple different colors and make a deck, and then you were drawing abilities based on the deck. But the company didn't use any of the like spells from the game. They made their own new versions. So it's like, well, now I'm playing this, like I feel like I'm playing knockoff Magic. What's the point?
Okay. Right.
But also that game was in beta for like 9 months and then never left beta and got cancelled.
That must be what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Anyway. Board games are fun.
You can go and get Arena on Steam now. If you
it's on Steam. It had a 1-year Epic contract, I think, and then now it's free on Steam.
Okay.
But it was out by itself way before, and I think they realized that they could get a free download if they were on the Epic Store for a while, and now then it's like, well, why isn't it on Steam?
Yeah. Cool. Let's move on from Magic. Spend our last half an hour talking to you, Lucy, or you talking to us about the games that you've been playing. I know there's a few, so take your time in whichever order and whichever amount you want to discuss each of these games. We've got about half an hour to chat through.
Yeah, cool. Plenty of time. I played a Schim?
Oh, yeah.
Schim?
Yeah.
Yeah, Schim. I rolled credits today.
Nice.
It is you've probably seen it kicking about. It's a indie game where there's basically just one central mechanic where you're basically playing as this little weird frog shadow guy and hopping from shadow to shadow. It released, I think it was about a week ago or 2 weeks ago. It's one of those games where it's like, it does the central mechanic and it does it well, but it doesn't really expand on that too much. And for me, over the 3 hours that I played it, that is absolutely fine.
Okay.
But don't come to it expecting, it to drastically revolutionize, expand on and revolutionize that kind of central mechanic that it has. It's very much what you see is what you get.
Mm-hmm.
The first couple levels, I think there's 65 in total. 65 like little vignettes, which just usually takes you from, I have to get from point A to point B.
Right.
Point A might, like the levels might be set in a supermarket, along a promenade, along, I don't know, in a warehouse or whatever. But you're basically the shadow, and it has to, this little frog thing that can only progress through the levels by jumping into shadows. It's basically a platformer seen from like an isometric perspective. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the first couple of levels, it's basically getting you used to the mechanics, which is just press A to jump. I played it on the Steam Deck, by the way, and it works really well on there. The controls are really, really snappy. It never felt like I was fighting against the game. It's just like every time I jumped into a shadow, it's like, even when it's like maybe a degree out, like, of jumping into something, it just snaps to the shadow. It feels really good in that sense. It's just like, I'm never having to be very accurate or anything like that. And yeah, the feel of it is very good. Just like plop, 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 jumping into shadows. Very snappy. But yeah, it's the start of the game. It takes you. There's this narrative where it's like, I think it's basically you're this child and you go through like childhood to adulthood, and it's like you wonder why you started on this desk job when your true destiny was to be a firefighter, something like that. Something like
Random.
that. It's very surface level. It's not very deep, but it's like it brings you through the game. It gives some context to the narrative, and it's like, okay, but basically you get separated from your little shadow person, your little shadow frog gets separated from your human, and then the whole game you're spending, chasing that human, like, right. Okay, each level he's like, okay, I'm going through this warehouse, this job that he's working here, I have to go from point A to point B. Now he's going for a zoo, has to jump from point A to point B, whatever.
They're just chasing him, essentially, to catch him up.
You're just chasing him, trying to get back to your human.
Are the elements that you kind of roll through in this, so, there's a lot of dynamic kind of elements that you can jump into the shadow of and kind of move around with. Are they sort of on paths? So could you sort of just sit and kind of understand the paths that are working throughout to kind of almost get the because it seems like it's a vignette, it's kind of more of a puzzle, sort of like, in terms of how you move between these elements, like go from you've got to go from point A to point B, but you've got to do it by doing step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there might be loads of different variations on those or different pathways that you can take. But it seems like in this, like I saw one where it's like just a moped driving around. You can jump into the shadow of the moped and kind of either move with it or jump sort of away. But I imagine that moped is on a path.
Yeah, and that can be a frustrating thing because a lot of it is there are some little there are some ways where it's like, okay, I can go a certain path or another path, but it is very limited because you press the right trigger button that was on the Steam Deck, and it's like, okay, my objective is over there, I need to get over there, and there's only so many ways that you can get there, and the game really points you in a certain direction. Yes, there are little, kind of deviations that I can take, but they are very minimal, and they are just like still going in that general direction.
Okay.
Where the game gets more interesting is that, as you say, Ben, there are like more puzzle aspects of it where it's like, okay, to get from, okay, there's a massive like kind of leap or distance between this shadow and that shadow, because basically you can do one jump and then a little jump to get into the next shadow, and that's it. If you do one full jump and a little jump, you don't get anywhere. It resets you to the sort of like the last shadow that you were on, or like the last kind of checkpoint. Sometimes that can be frustrating where it's like, oh, it reset me a bit further back than I wanted to be, for seemingly no reason. But usually it's like, okay, I need to figure out how to get across this big distance without any kind of light shadow in between. And sometimes there's mechanics like, okay, I need to switch on a light switch so it casts a shadow, and it's like, oh, that goes there. Or turn on like a traffic light so the cars start progressing along that line and they cast shadows, and I can jump into like the car shadow and then the next car shadow, sort of like even Frogger or something like that. So there are like, little puzzle mechanics like that. But they apart from like, yes, doing like traffic lights, and sometimes there's things where you can like catapult yourself, like you can go into like a spinny chair and go on like the shadow and like kind of swirl and then catapult yourself, or on like a springboard and stuff like that. Other than those few little different mechanics, there's not really much expanding on that kind of core gameplay. So it's just enough to keep you engaged and keep you thinking, but it's not. As I say, it doesn't revolutionize the kind of like central mechanic. It doesn't go. It doesn't exceed it as much as I possibly would like.
Okay.
But that's if I'm thinking like, yeah, I want it to be tested. But this is a very like chilled out game. I was happy just to like put on a podcast and watch something else and play this.
Yeah,
it very much had that space where it's like, this is like pretty much paint by the numbers, plays itself. Now and then I have to, rub my two brain cells together and think of a different path, or use those, different mechanics and think about it. But most of the time, I could just relax with it, and I really appreciated it and really liked it for that, because it has a very good central mechanic, and it didn't overstay its welcome. It just flowed. Sometimes you just need a game that flows. That's the kind of mood I am in for like a summer game. It's like it's hot. I want to go outside. I want to do some things. Sometimes, okay, I have a bit of downtime. I don't want to be thinking about too many things, too many mechanics. This does the central mechanic very well, and it just flowed. I just went with it. So
nice.
I don't think every game has its purpose, and I don't think it not expanding on its central mechanic that much detracts from it that much, depending on what you want to play. So this I very much enjoyed, even though it didn't do too much outside of in terms of puzzles and its central mechanic. And it's just like, enjoyed it.
Fair.
Very good. But yeah, Schim. I want to know what Schim means. I want to know who developed this game and what country.
I just had that up.
Because it's
it's capital SCH, lowercase I, big M.
Yes.
I mean, it's Dutch, I think, given that the developers Ivo van der Werf and Niles Slijkerman.
Yeah, because it's certainly not an English street.
Oh, actually, it says...
jumping across.
What is a Schim? A Schim is the soul and spirit of an object, thing, or living being. Everything in the world has one. A Schim should never be separate from their thing. This does happen to your Schim. This Schim who's attached to him being separate.
That is a lovely sentiment, and that is what the game is. So, yeah, you little Frogger shadow guy trying to catch up with you human. Cool. It's good. I enjoyed it.
Nice. What else have you been playing there? Is there something you haven't enjoyed, or is everything that you've played?
No, everything I've enjoyed. A game I haven't put as much time as I wanted to in is Valley Peaks.
Oh yeah.
You're playing as an actual frog in this game. It's a first-person climbing game, so it's sort of like. Sort of got like the chill vibes of like Jusant, mixed with like a short hike. You're in like this very mountainous valley because it's Valley Peaks. Like very autumnal kind of colours. It's got like a CRT filter on it. It very much reminds me of like a short hike where you're having to get to these mountain tops to interact with signals for your employer, whereas in Short Hike it was for a very sentimental reason why you were going up these top of these peaks. But there seems to be, maybe it'll turn out to be like this in Valley Peaks, but it seems for a very corporate reason, like let's put up all the telephone poles so we can spy on all the people because we're a bad corporation or whatever it is. But yeah, it seemed from first person, and it's a physics-based climber, so you're basically like, suction cupping each of your very long limbs, your arms to like to these rocks. The physics don't make any sense, and I love that for it. It's it seems very forgiving. It's not like kind of like Jusant where it's like, okay, this hand has to go over this hand, and this hand has to loop over this hand because this is where I'm positioned on like the mountain. It's like, I put this arm here, and then I can like swing 360 round this pivot and still get up to the top, even though my arm would just be like spaghetti and twisted at that point. It's like it doesn't seem to follow like any kind of real world logic, which I like.
It's more the like we were talking about Grow Home a couple of episodes ago, weren't we? It's sort of almost more in that sort of physical sort of sense of like you're still trying to grab things, but it allows for that kind of fluidity.
It's
not rigid.
Comparison, yeah. Your limbs are jelly, and they cross over each other, and they can, just meld into one another. So it's like, it's, and fortunately, because I was like, this is a first-person game, and it's like climbing, things might get a bit woozy. There's so many like settings where you can just change like the head bob, the blur, so it's like, I'm not getting motion sickness at all, which is great because I'm very sensitive to that. So that's very good right off the bat, and you can change like key bindings and everything. Seems like they got all the settings that you need in this. But yeah, I'm very early on in. But I am very much enjoying the vibes of this because it just seems like very chilled, and it seems like very open. There's like a very small open map, but I think you can conquer any. There's 11 peaks altogether, and I think you can conquer them at any time that you want. Like,
nice.
I just, strutted over to some random peak, and it was like, ooh, this looks a bit challenging. I was like, I can do it. I barely grasped the mechanics of this game. I haven't got that far through the game. I'm picking up like bolts and mushrooms. I don't know if I can upgrade myself. I don't care. I'm gonna conquer this peak no matter what. Even though you say it's hard and there's like stuff falling and it's like, oh, you have to do a little jump and a shimmy and it's like, but I conquered it and it was like, yeah, I can do that.
Nice.
So yeah, I think basically that's what this game's gonna be. Just chill vibes in a nice little autumnal mountain setting, just climbing these peaks. I imagine they're gonna get harder than what I've seen so far. But you're doing the Assassin's Creed,
leap of
interact
faith.
with the. Well, as they say on the first one, you're a frog, so it doesn't matter if you jump off because your legs are fine because you don't have fall damage. But in terms of like, once you interact with like the signal at the top of the mountain peak, it like shows you part of the map. So it's like as far as I know, there's 11 of those. So it's just like. I imagine they'll get harder, and then you just keep on suction cupping your way off the mountains.
Yeah.
It's like, it's really chilled. I'm really enjoying it. So
Nice. Good.
It's good fun. So yeah,
good.
Looking
Amazing.
forward to playing more of that.
Nice. Maybe more chat on it when you've got a little bit sort of further through. See how that. Actually
I'll
develops, how the game
definitely go
changes.
back to it. I'm really enjoying it. So
Good.
yeah,
Good.
the last game that I want to talk about is a preview. And I gotta go for this because I don't really typically, play games and preview them. But this has a demo. I don't know if it's publicly released, but it's. You might remember, just from the name alone, that I played a game called. I always want to call it Willy Morgan and the Bone Zone or something like that. But I think it's Willy Morgan and the Bone Town?
Bone Town, yes. Bone Town, yeah. Curse of Bone Town.
Yes. Curse of Willy Morgan and the Curse of Bone Town.
Yes.
Yeah, not the Bone Zone. Yeah, I played that game a few years ago. It's a point-and-click adventure game, and I love those. And this is made from the same developers, Imaginary Lab. It's their follow-up game. Not in the same universe or anything like that, but I think it's just their next game from that team. And it was like, do you want to play a demo? I was like, I really enjoyed Willy Morgan. How can you forget Bone Town, Bone Zone? How can you forget that? So I was just like, I really enjoyed that game. I'll play the demo. And yeah, it's one of those where it's like, when you play a demo and it's like, I don't want to play anymore because I don't want to spoil the full game. Even though this might be a snippet, this might be out of sequence, but then you just keep playing it because it's like, I just want more of this kind of game. And I want more point-and-click adventure games. There's not enough of them. Especially, well, there might be. But there are not enough that just, like, completely... There's not enough that get it. There's not enough that get the experience of a point-and-click adventure game. What sickos like me want. Where it's like, we want the puzzles that make sense technically, but... kind of push the boat out and are just so esoteric and a bit weird and a bit obtuse, but make sense in a sicko's mind like me because I'm tuned that way. I know that putting like, I don't know, a, chicken and a pulley together and a, just make, these stupid puzzles that make sense in nobody's mind. And this is why I didn't really get on with the latest Monkey Island game. I did enjoy it, but it wasn't stupid enough. It wasn't obtuse enough. I need stupid puzzles that make no sense. But they get it. They got it with Willy Morgan, and I think they get it with this. And this game is very much eliciting themes of like. Did either of you like play Toon Struck back in the day?
Rings a bell, but I can't place it.
With Christopher Lloyd, it was like live action in a point-and-click game. Even if you didn't play it, do you kind of remember it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind. I think even like the cover art for this game is very like Toon Struck kind of vibes to it, and I think it was animated. I haven't played it in probably about 20 years at least, but I think Christopher Lloyd was like animator in this game. But I don't know. When I ever think Christopher Lloyd, I think of Doc and like Crazy Inventor and like the character in oh sorry, I didn't even say the name of the new Bone Town game. It's Whirlite. Yes, the character in Whirlite is very much like a Doc kind of character. He's like an inventor.
Right.
So, and it's playing with like kind of like different realities and space and time. So it's like they have that creative license to be a bit wackier with it. But even in the demo, which probably took me about 90 minutes to get through, it still has things that make sense. I don't know if it makes sense for anybody who isn't like absolutely corrupted in the brain like me with point and click adventure games, but still makes sense. Even though they're like in a warped reality and stuff like that for half of the game.
The visuals, like the aesthetic, I like it, but I hate it at the same time. Like
it's sort of like hand drawn with 3D animation.
Yeah, but it's like a weird, like at least what I remember, like a weird 90s kind of adventure game vibe to it, isn't it? Like,
that's what I like.
Oh, it's like clearly 3D rendered worlds, but still living in the 2D like space and using the same sort of visual tricks to make you think there's depth, even though they don't have to.
Yeah,
because like the character looks weird and like it doesn't match because even though to the background, but it's also just such a weird art style that like it doesn't look animated and it doesn't look real, so it's just got this. It is Uncanny Valley, even though it's not trying to be. It doesn't look like it's trying to be photorealistic, but something's off about it. So it's like it still lives in the Uncanny Valley of what you're expecting of animated stuff.
Absolutely, and that's what I like. And that's what I crave, and that's what I enjoy. And it's got all the good, you got your inventory, and it's like I'm combining weird items and trying it on everything. It's got that. They get it. I'm sick. I get it. I understand.
So I didn't realize. So Toon Struck is literally a like Roger Rabbit style game of live action and animated.
With just Christopher Lloyd wandering about.
No, because he's trying to.
Got Tim Curry in it as well.
He's trying to. He's got an. Fucking Ben Stein is his evil boss. So it's Ben Stein, Tim Curry, Christopher Lloyd, and Dan Castellaneta, like the voice of Homer Simpson. That's wild. What a weird. I'm so shocked I've never played this.
Yeah, it's great. It's. I mean. I may be
on Steam. Wonder if it plays.
It's on Steam.
Windows 11. Yeah.
I think it's only on like GOG. Hold on. Let me add that to.
I think it's on both Steam and GOG.
Yeah, because I knew it was on GOG.
God, Christopher Lloyd looks so young.
Right?
Well, that is on my wish list now.
When did this originally come out?
Like mid-90s.
I mean, I was going to say, I think. Oh, damn it, Steam.
So this
1996.
This is post Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Thing is, Back to the Future, one of the reasons it looks so old is just because his hair's dyed white.
Well, yeah, of course. He's playing a much older character. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he does look young in comparison.
Well, it makes sense to age him for the modern day version. So when they go back in time, he can just play himself at his age. But he still looks incredibly old back in the 50s as well.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, he was also in Taxi, and he didn't look young in that. I think he just never looked young.
Sure, yeah,
No,
yeah.
He's one of those, yeah. It's only $6.99 on Steam. Do you have to run anything different on this?
I wouldn't imagine. So some of these old games, when they're put on Steam, they just have their own DOSBox wrapper, so you don't have to have like DOSBox installed. It'll just boot up through it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that is interesting. I may play again in the year 2024, so that's interesting.
When was Addams Family? Not that Christopher Lloyd looked like himself within the Addams Family, but that must be 90s, right?
90s as well, yeah. Maybe 97 or something like 98. But yeah, what is it called again?
Whirlite, yes.
Yeah, Whirlite, No Time to Die. I can't remember.
Yeah, I finished the
No Time to Trip. Oh, it was close.
No Time to Trip. I'm looking forward to it.
I imagine No Time to Die is a James Bond fucking subtitle, right? Sounds like it.
It is. It's literally the last one.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, No Time to Die.
What, Daniel Craig?
Yeah, Daniel
When
Craig's
did that come out?
It had plenty of reshoot time because of the pandemic, so I'm guessing 2022?
A James Bond film came out after Skylight. What's that one?
2021. Skyfall was the one before it.
That is...
That's the one I
remember.
remember.
James Bond film came out after Skyfall. Okay,
yes.
That is interesting to me.
I've not seen this. I've not seen No Time.
I haven't seen it either, but I haven't even seen Skyfall.
I haven't seen that one. Or what was the one before that?
Well, maybe I have.
Not Casino Royale. What was the other one?
The one in between. Quantum of Solace, yeah.
I saw the Quantum of Solace. That was bad.
I think... Wait, which one was Quantum of Solace?
I don't know.
The one with the desert hotel.
The one after Casino Royale.
Yeah.
I must have seen Quantum of Solace because I know I saw the one after Casino Royale, and then I never saw Skyfall, never saw Spectre. Wait, sorry, I just realized that this is not in a good order. For some reason, the list of James Bond films.
Are you telling me 3 films came out after Quantum of Solace?
I don't understand. It goes 2002, 2006, 2008, 2012, Oh, no, yeah, so Skyfall, Spectre, No Time to Die. So Spectre, it's 2 since Skyfall.
Oh. What? How many films has Daniel Craig done?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5? Shit.
I've only seen 2.
Yeah, I've seen Quantum and Casino.
I mean, I may have seen more, but they all seem like one film.
That's interesting. I've never been a fan of James Bond films historically.
I was, because there was so many marathons, and when I was like the age where TV is TV and you don't really think about quality or whatever, and also you're like...
Yeah. No, they are TV films. Like,
absolutely.
I watched...
you just watch, like, it's like summer holidays or you're off sick in the middle of one of these things and you watch like 8 of them in a day and you're like, I shouldn't be up anymore.
Yeah, I watched the one when he ran over crocodiles.
That must be a Roger Moore one.
Might have been.
Yeah,
that's how little I remember. It was on TV, and I was like, "Oh," and it remained on TV whilst I was doing.
I had this fondness
I was like,
for the series,
the crocodile scene, yeah.
And I love gadgets and I love action movies, but at some point, the misogyny was just so unavoidable, and it's like these are. I just don't like. No, this doesn't work anymore. I can't ignore it.
I think they tried to tone that down funny. Right in the more modern ones.
Oh sure, but at that point, it's like, well, there's plenty of like the franchise is long overstayed its welcome, right? Like there are plenty of more interesting setups in the spy thriller action stuff, and I can't see every movie. I'm not going to go out of my way to see Daniel Craig's James Bond. Remember how annoyed people were that James Bond would be blonde? Remember how that was a thing in the cultural zeitgeist?
Imagine if he was black. Damn.
I mean, we're now... the people have been saying Idris Elba should be the next one for two Bonds.
He's too old, right?
But he's basically too old now.
I know.
Yeah.
It must be. Daniel Craig, Casino Royale came out in 2006.
Yeah.
And so then No Time to Die. So he's done 5 years, 5 films over 15 years.
He's been doing it like... Wow.
Oh, yeah. When you think about it, so Brosnan was Bond from 95 to 2002.
Yeah, that wasn't long at all.
No. Well, and you can give him the 4 years before Craig took over.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's 95 to 2005.
Sure.
And Daniel Craig has been Bond since 2002. Which is double the amount of time.
Yeah.
Casino Royale was actually decent.
I really liked it, yeah.
Yeah. Because I liked poker. When
I liked poker and I hated it because... Like, he's going to lose, but he just happens to have a royal flush. It's like, that's not how poker works. Bluff someone.
James Bond film.
Outplay him.
I mean, like, you know, we cycles for films, cycles for games, how long these things take is a lot longer now than it used to be. Sean Connery made a James Bond film in 1962, another one in 1963, another one in 1964, another one in 1965, 1967, and then it changed to George Lazenby for one film in 1969. Then Sean Connery came back in 1971. Like, that's a film a year for the first 4 films. Like, fucking hell.
Yeah,
we were better people then.
Simpler times.
I mean, even Roger Moore was like 2 years between films as sort of the next James Bond, and even Timothy Dalton did 2 films, 2 years between those. 2 years after Roger Moore, actually. And then...
They made a GTA game every year. For a while. Now we're just crap.
Right, to bring us back on task, Lucy, final thoughts about Whirlite.
Yeah, it's the bone zone.
Nice, good. We'll come back, because it's a preview, so it's not out yet. There is a public demo. You can download it on Steam right now.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. Good. So you can go and experience what we've been talking about for yourselves if you wish. It's just the motion. It's the motion of the characters, I think, that upsets me a little bit. I don't know.
I love it.
Cool. Let's return to beers. Aadil, we'll come back to you for the Molen.
It's great. I'm not rushing this at all.
Yeah. You drank a very small amount.
I was hoping you would have done that.
I was too enthralled with our discussions and what you guys were saying. Forgot to drink.
Good. And you were talking about magic.
Oh, yeah, that's the worst
Your
part.
one true love. Yeah.
Sorry, Dorian. Oh, no. Oh, you came back. When did you come back, yelly face? I don't know if you guys heard him over the Discord or suppression. Oh, there was one point where he was just yelling. It was in the middle of talking. I was like, can't let you out. Trying to finish a point. Shut up.
The beer.
Yes. It's great. I think it's better. It's warmer now, and I think that's good. I think my palate's got used to it. It's just opened up more. So the finish is actually a bit longer with the warmth. The malts, so the fruit is a little more in front of the malts than before with the higher temperature, but it still has that sort of maltiness in the backbone, which is just great. But yeah, so this is an excellent beer. On the right day, I could finish one of these and be like, oh, this was tasty. I want more. I'm not suggesting one should. I'm just suggesting one might have the thought.
Okay. Good. Yes, nice.
Yeah.
But excellent that it elicits that from you. Yeah, good.
It is continuing to confirm that if you see a beer from De Molen, just buy it. You'll enjoy
absolutely.
It. Nice. Lucy, weekend project.
Yeah. Just wrapped it up not long ago. Yeah, just very smooth, very easy, very pillowy, very soft. Yeah, the perfect beer for tonight. Whilst it's not like, I had shout outs to a Beak wit beer called Louis that I had earlier, which was, people say stuff about Blue Moon, but it's kind of that quintessential wit beer, especially when you're just, adrift and Yeah, and you don't have anywhere else to go, and it's like this one beer that's on tap other than a Guinness, and you can have a decent time with. Yeah, it's not as crisp and refreshing as like a wit beer or something like that, but it was it was refreshing in its own way, where it was very not watery, but like very clean, very very satiating, very very soft. So yeah, I can't wait to taste the other beers that I have from them, because they're new to me, and seems like they're new on the scene. I didn't really see when they were established on their website, but it's certainly new to me, and it's just like, yeah, if that's their core beer, and their first beer that they said, then yeah, bring it on, because that was excellent. Yeah.
Good. You've got a couple more beers to enjoy as well from them as well. Perfect. Jeff Goldblum, he dulled a little bit.
What is the name of that beer?
It's called Who's Afraid?
In my head, it's just Ben's Jeff Goldblum beer.
Who's Afraid of Jeff Goldblum is the name.
Is it actually called that?
It is actually called that. Yes.
I bet they have these permissions as well to say.
Well, you'd hope so.
I would imagine. I would really.
They probably just sent him an email, and he's probably like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah, more than likely. It seems like the kind of thing
laying on his piano.
Fine. But it dulled a little bit, unfortunately. The fruitiness kind of disappeared a little bit the more I drank. The kind of bitter pininess disappeared a little bit the more I drank. And it did just become that slightly dank, slightly more soupy kind of flavour as I got maybe into the final third of the beer. So it petered out very, very quickly as I was drinking it. But it was a really nice initial flavour that did last, and maybe I've eked it out a little bit. We spent an hour, a bit more than that, hour and a half, kind of drinking these beers. Normally, I'd have probably drunk this a little bit quicker, and it would have retained some of those flavours, perhaps a little bit quicker if I'd have been drinking it over half an hour rather than an hour or something like that. But
your experience was basically the fly. It started out being like, "Oh, this might work. This is okay," and then things turning.
It just
sour
instantly. Yep, you're just like, oh shit, oh okay, fine. Yes,
my face is melting.
Maybe, maybe not quite as quick as the fly turns, but yeah, it's in that kind of vein, I think, unfortunately. But
it's
first
probably not that bad. But it's like a gross movie. I don't want to attribute the beer.
I mean, they elicit it. They're telling you right now that's exactly what this beer is gonna be. But the first beer I had from Sure Shot, the Coolest S, which I was drinking when we started, was really nice. So again, when we hit Manchester in October-ish time for my birthday,
I need to book my ticket because I'm going to gate crash that.
Absolutely. Might have changed dates, so I need to to finalise stuff with Kim and then let you both know exactly when that's going to actually be.
I absolutely want to gate crash.
Just to be sat in the brewery and we're like, oh hey, what are you doing?
I was in the neighbourhood.
Yeah. I just saw you through the window. Like, yes, yeah. But
have you got an itinerary?
Not yet.
For that?
Not yet. I need to know
you
dates.
You need to go to the pub. I think Kim would like it as well.
Yeah.
The pub that just does the Pomona Island stuff, because it's a lovely pub. Yeah.
Nice.
I think even if she doesn't want to go to a random warehouse, then yeah, I think she'd love that. So.
Good. Cool. So there are beers. They're the drinks that we have drank. The games that Lucy has played, and the news that we have been looking at. Thank you very much for joining us. You can hit us up on socials at TankedUpCast. Go to outlives.net. I'm Nova_47. Lucy is
GZLose9.
And Aadil is
at the Omniarch.
And that's pretty much everything and everywhere and all the things. Go to the YouTube page.
You know what? I'm clean from Call of Duty for
oh wow,
probably a month now.
Until the next one comes out.
What?
Who knows? But I'm clean.
So hold on. Okay, here's a question for you, Lucy. I know we're wrapping up, but I have to ask: is there a celebrity skin that would entice you back
Tina
to play?
Turner.
There we go.
Telling everybody, put Tina Turner in the Thunderdome.
You heard that? If there's anyone left at Activision Blizzard,
they'll do a Furiosa. They'll do like a Furiosa skin just to annoy you, and there'll be no fucking big frizzy afros anywhere to be seen. Yeah.
I want Tina Turner, rocking her head back and forward, like like that. I want that to be the emote.
Right.
Her dance. Yes.
Yeah. The Nutbush City Limits dance. That's what you need. You're just like. Yeah.
Rolling on a river dance. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Tina
Absolutely.
Done. Okay.
No.
Good.
None of it.
Good. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We've been Tanks Up, and we'll catch you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Brilliant.
www.outoflives.net